And the first thing to really talk about is I want to take you back to the beginning. And in 1995, you started.
Yep.
You went public in 97. And I'll adjust for stock splits, but you raised stock. You issued shares at $1.50 a share.
That's right.
In 1988, your revenue was $600 million, and you lost $125 million, but your stock had gone to $55 a share. So you doubled down. Sales went up threefold. You lost another $400 million, but your stock went up to $76. $27 billion of market cap. Your personal net worth of $9 billion. Take us back to that time where the market is telling you you're doing great, but you have red ink in the company. You took on $2 billion of debt from 99 to 01 while you doubled sales yet again. What were you thinking back then?
Well, that's a great question, and it is kind of fun to go back and think about those days. In those days when we had, when I started the company and it was just one person, and then there were 10 people, and today there are almost 600,000 people. So there's a lot of change. But back in that time, we were still a pretty small company by most standards, but we were growing fast, and it was very exciting. When I started, I was driving all the packages to the post office myself. I knew the UPS guy so well that he would let me in even like 5 minutes after closing. So it was, I hoped one day we'd be able to afford a forklift. It was that kind of operation. We were so inefficient with our operations and logistics in those early days when there were just 10 of us that I didn't have packing tables. We were packing on the floor on our hands and knees. And I said to one of the software engineers who was packing alongside me, you know what we should do? We should get knee pads. And he looked at me like I was the dumbest guy he'd ever seen in his life. And he said, Jeff, we should get packing tables. And next day I got packing tables, and it doubled our productivity. And so, but in the era you're talking about, we had gone public, and you're right, on a split-adjusted basis, it's $1.50 a share in today's terms. And the market became very quickly a kind of an internet bubble kind of market, and the stock prices went up very, very high. When I raised the initial funding for Amazon, I had to talk to 60 prospective investors to raise $1 million, and I raised $1 million from 22 different investors, $50,000 at a time, and they got 20% of the company for $1 million, and that was in '95. But just 2 or 3 years later, Stanford MBA with no business experience could raise $25 million with a single phone call if they had a internet business plan. So the whole thing in just 2 or 3 years, the excitement really, as we would shortly see when the bubble burst in the year 2000, the hyperbolic excitement about the internet had infected everybody. And I knew that we had I liked our business, and I liked the fundamentals of our business, but I also knew that the stock price was disconnected from what we were doing on a day-to-day basis. And so I was always preaching. We would have all-hands meetings, and it was a small number of employees at that time, but probably, let's see, in '97, I think we would have had a few hundred employees. We would have all-hands meetings, and I would say, look, we got to remember the great quote from Benjamin Graham that in the short run, the stock market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. So don't think about the daily stock price, because it was going up every day. The stock price was going up. And I didn't want, because all the employees had stock options, and I didn't want them counting their success that way. And so I would say, look, when the stock is up 30% in a month, don't feel 30% smarter. Because when it's down 30% in a month, then you're going to have to feel 30% dumber. And it's not going to feel as good.
Right.
And it was good that I kind of laid that groundwork because, sure enough, in the year 2000, the whole thing came tumbling down. I think Amazon
Went back
stock
to about $6.
went down to $6, and that I don't even know if that's on a split-adjusted basis.
Yeah.
I think that's probably that was on a split-adjusted basis probably below $1.
So, and did you ever doubt the business model at that point?
No. So it's very interesting to me because I had all the internal metrics on, how many customers we had and what was going on, and I could see people thought we were losing money because we were selling dollar bills for 90 cents, even though we were very clear that we were not. We had high fixed costs, but we had contribution margin, positive contribution margin. And I just knew that it was a fixed cost business, and as soon as we reached a sufficient scale, we would have a very good business. And so that understanding of the fixed nature of our expenses relative to physical world retail is what led us to have the get big fast strategy. We knew that it would be that our economics would be very much improved if we could have a sufficient scale.